Physiological demands of team handball referees during games. Physical Effort Laboratory, Sports Center, Federal University of Santa Catarina, Florianópolis, Brazil, Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, School of Sports and Exercise Sciences, University of Rome, Tor Vergata, Rome, Italy, Morpho-Functional Research Laboratory, Center of Health Sciences and Sports, University of State of Santa Catarina, Florianópolis, Brazil. Introduction. The specific characteristics of intermittent team sports have led to the development and evaluation of methods as close as possible to the actual competition movement pattern. Pardon me. In this way, it has been observed that the number of studies using intermittent testing procedures has grown. In general, most studies have focused on the physiological demands of players, with only few describing the levels of exertion that referees are submitted to. Furthermore, they have been mostly conducted with soccer and basketball referees. Team handball referees must follow the game, keeping themselves as close as possible to the action in an attempt to gain a favorable viewing point. This limiting physical fatigue showed to influence a referee's decision-making. Consequently, given the documented increase in the work rate of team handball games, handball referees must be physically fit. Recently, the International Handball Federation has established indices of aerobic fitness and handball referees involving in international level competitions. This is a consequence of the development of a tactical strategies of team handball that increased match intensity. Although laboratory testing may offer a more accurate control over most variables, it usually requires expensive equipment and trained personnel, and it is time-consuming. For these reasons, several field tests have been proposed in an attempt to provide ecological validity and practical benefit, evaluation of several individuals in the same time. Among field tests, one of the most extensively adopted has been the 20-meter shuttle run test, which presents good validity and reproducibility for the assessment of aerobic power and aerobic capacity. Furthermore, the LGT shows a good logical validity for court games such as team handball because it involves continuous shuttle running. Several studies recently addressed the physical and physiological demands of elite-level soccer referees. Considering the smaller playing area and game involvement of 2 referees, the physical demands of national elite team handball referees may be expected to be lower than those reported for soccer field officials. However, to the best of our knowledge, no study is currently available in the international literature on the level of physical demands imposed upon team handball referees. Therefore, the aims of this study were to assess the aerobic fitness of top-class handball referees and to examine their physiological demands during official games. Methods. Experimental approach to the problem. In this study, we adopted descriptive naturalistic design, with the aim to assess the physical descriptive design and game demands naturalistic description design of elite-level team handball officials. The national top 16 ranked referees, 14 male and 2 female referees, were selected. In team handball, female referees can be appointed with male colleagues of a similar competitive level for official games, provided they show the ability to pass a fitness test. All subjects were subjected to the LGT and submaximal rectangular test for blood lactate profiling. 8 of the 16 handball referees, 4 referee pairs, were monitored during a national male elite championship. All evaluations were performed with an interval of 48 hours. Subjects. 16 referees, 14 men and 2 women from the Brazilian Handball Confederation with the experience in national level competition volunteered to participate in the study. Age 34.9 plus or minus 3.4 years, body mass 77.4 plus or minus 10.6 kilograms, height 173.5 plus or minus 7.5 centimeters, percent fat 22.3 plus or minus 6.6%. The evaluations were carried out before the beginning of the National League. All subjects signed informed consent according to the Helsinki Declaration. The research design protocol was approved by the local institutional research board before the commencement of this study. Procedures. On 2 separate occasions, referees were tested for aerobic fitness, LGT, and lactic profiling, intermittent lactate test, ILT, peak velocity, PV, and peak heart rate, HR, during the LGT were assigned as maximal aerobic speed and maximal HR max, respectively. The maximum oxygen uptake, VO2 max, was estimated by the equation VO2 max milliliters per kg per minute equals negative 22.4 plus 6 times velocity of the last stage. Lactate profiling was performed using the ILT, consisting of 2 shuttle running over a 20-meter base, bouts of 3-minute duration, resting period of 1 minute, performed at 75 and 90% of PV. After each bout, 25 units of blood were collected from the earlobe to determine the blood lactate concentration, YSA 1500 analyzer, Yellow Springs, Ohio, USA. The lactate analyzer was calibrated according to the manufacturer's instructions. By linear interpolation, velocities in HR corresponding to the blood lactate concentration of 2.0 millimoles per liter, V 2 millimoles, and HR 2 millimoles, and 4.0 millimoles per liter were determined and considered as physiological transition threshold, PTT1 and PTT2 respectively. On the same week, 3 male and 1 female pairs, age 33.6 plus or minus 3.7 years, weight 73.7 plus or minus 10.9 kilograms, height 172.9 plus or minus 8.3 centimeters, and percent fat 21.6 plus or minus 8.9%, had their heart rate monitored 5-second interval during 4 national level games, 1 for each pair, to determine referees' physiological demands during the games. Physiological domains were set according to the HR values found from the PTT1 and the PTT2. The physiological domains were defined as a moderate value below HR2, B heavy values from HR2 millimoles until HR4 millimoles, and several HR values above HR4 millimoles. Heart rates were recorded using short-range telemetry, polar S610I, Compel Finland, throughout the study. The intra-class correlation coefficient of the test variable used in the study was assessed in quality studies carried out by the authors of the study, and they were 0.91 and 0.89 for the LGT and the ILT respectively. Statistical analysis. Descriptive statistic mean plus or minus SD were used to report data values. Comparisons between variables were performed using paired and unpaired t-test. Significance was set at 5%. P is less than or equal to 0.05. Results. In Table 1 are descriptive the velocity and HR values determined in LGT and ILT for all referees, N equals 16, and the game monitored group, N equals 8. Referees remained. Referees remained 96.4, 2.3, and 1.3% of the total time in the moderately heavy and severe domains respectively. P is less than 0.05. The average HR during the games was 131 plus or minus 15 beats per minute, 68% of heart rate max. Discussion. This is the first study that examined the aerobic fitness and game cardiovascular load in top-class team handball referees during competitive games. This was achieved using field tests that mimicked handball referee movement patterns, shuttle run, during the game. In this study, the team handball referees were able to achieve a PV of 12.5 plus or minus 1.0 kilometers an hour, and just below the values found by Barros in futsal players and Donati et al. In soccer players. However, the values of VO2 max were inferior to that found in handball players. The relative velocities and HR of PTT1 and PTT2 Table 1 are in accordance with the intensities usually found in studies with athletes of intermittent sports. The average HR attained during the games corresponded to 68% of the HR max. In general, these values are lower than the values found in soccer officials, 70 to 89%. and basketball referees 78.7%. Although differently from this study, most authors use predicted HR max. Differences in HR may be caused by dissimilarity in movement patterns as a result of match work rate and playing area. Team handball referees game HR resulting in being lower than that reported in elite level handball players. In light of the study findings, the work hypothesis as per the lower demands imposed on team handball officials compared with soccer referees as verified. It is important to emphasize that the measurements carried out during actual gameplay in the study were collected in courts of official size for international matches and during official championships competitions. Further studies that will measure the physiological stress of the handball referees should consider the level of referees, age, gender, and physical fitness, the competition besides the court dimensions. Handball referees perform 96.4% of the game time at moderate intensity. In this category are comprised of all activity that can be performed without significant modifications of blood lactate levels in relation to resting values. As a result, it can be affirmed that handball referees is predominantly aerobic and of moderate intensity. Indeed, handball referees worked at high intensity for only 3.6% of the match time. Efforts of this intensity seem to have marginal impact on decision making. This study showed that handball referees possess a moderate aerobic fitness that parallels the lower physiological demand imposed by actual game activities. Consequently, aerobic fitness should not be regarded as a limiting factor in handball referees. Practical analysis. Handball referees, as in soccer, are not full-time professionals, with less time for physical training when compared to players. In light of this study findings, it seems reasonable to suggest that the fitness levels of the elite level team handball referees is moderate to low compared to officials and players of team sports. Unfortunately, with the descriptive nature of the study, it is not possible to know whether the individual fitness level may affect game decision making in team handball. Because of the nature of the cardiovascular demands imposed on team handball referees, it seems realistic that aerobic training should stress mainly the moderate intensity drills. However, team handball referees should be prepared to cope with maximal intensity exercise because this proved to occur about 2% of the game time. Consequently, aerobic fitness training should be complemented with some strength and speed training. Aspects such as gender, age, technical level, and initial fitness should be considered in the elaboration of the training strategy and plans. Acknowledgement. This study was conducted without any financial support.